Smart English Studio.
Have you ever learned an English word, used it correctly, and then discovered that it means something completely different in another country?
Maybe you learned American English, but then you visited the UK and realized that pants, chips, fries, cookies, biscuits, elevators, lifts, vacation, and holiday can all cause confusion.
Today, we are going to practice a fun and natural English conversation about American English and British English.
Our guest today is from the United States, and we'll talk about funny word differences, small misunderstandings, everyday language, politeness, food, holidays, and a few cultural habits too.
This lesson will help you understand real English better, especially when you hear people from different English-speaking countries.
And don't worry, this is not a boring vocabulary list. We'll learn through stories, jokes, and real situations.
So listen carefully, repeat useful phrases, and think about this question. Do you usually learn American English or British English?
Let's begin.
Hi, welcome to Smart English Studio. I'm Eva, and today I'm very happy to welcome our guest from the United States.
Hi, Eva. Thanks for having me. I'm Jake, and I'm from the US.
Jake, I'm so excited about today's topic because we're going to talk about American English and British English.
Yes, and I already feel a little nervous because I know I'm going to say something that sounds normal to me but strange to you.
That is exactly why this topic is interesting.
Yes. English learners often think English is one language with one set of words, but then they hear American English and British English, and suddenly they think, wait, why are there two words for everything?
Exactly. And sometimes it's not just two words. Sometimes the same word means something different.
Yes, and that can become embarrassing very quickly.
Let's start with the most famous one.
Oh no, I know where this is going.
Pants.
Yes, pants, the dangerous word.
Tell us your story.
Okay, the first time I visited the UK, I saw my friend wearing really nice trousers, but in American English, I would naturally say pants. So I said, "Hey, I like your pants."
Oh no!
Exactly. My British friend looked at me for a second and then started laughing.
Because in British English, pants usually means underwear.
Right, I meant trousers, but in the UK, it sounded like I was complimenting his underwear.
That is a perfect example of why this lesson is useful.
Very useful and very necessary for survival.
So let's explain it clearly. In American English, pants means the clothes you wear on your legs.
In British English, those are usually called trousers.
And in British English, pants often means underwear.
So if you are in the UK, be careful with the sentence, "I like your pants."
Very careful.
A safer sentence is, "I like your trousers."
Exactly. Or if you are in the US, I like your pants sounds completely normal.
So learners need to remember, the word may be correct in one country, but funny in another country.
That phrase is useful. The word may be correct in one country, but funny in another country.
Yes, and not only funny, sometimes confusing.
Let's talk about another classic one, chips and crisps.
This one confused me too when I first came to the UK.
In British English, chips are hot potato pieces, usually thicker than American fries.
Like fish and chips.
Exactly. But in American English, chips are thin, crunchy snacks in a bag.
In British English, those are called crisps.
So if you ask for chips in the UK, you might get hot chips. If you ask for chips in the US, you might get a bag of crunchy potato chips.
And if you ask for crisps in the US, people might understand, but it sounds very British.
Let's give learners useful sentences. In the US, you can say, "Can I have some chips with my sandwich?"
In the UK, you might say, "Can I have a packet of crisps?"
And if you want hot, thin potato sticks in the US, you say fries.
In the UK, people also understand fries, especially in fast food restaurants, but chips is the traditional British word.
So food words are dangerous too.
Very dangerous. I once asked for chips in the UK, thinking I would get crisps, and I got a plate of hot chips instead.
Was that a bad surprise?
Not really. Potatoes are rarely a bad surprise.
That is true.
But it was not what I expected.
That phrase is useful. It was not what I expected.
Yes, you can use it when something is different from what you thought would happen.
Let's move to another food word, cookie and biscuit.
In American English, we say cookie for a sweet baked snack.
In British English, we usually say biscuit.
But Americans also have the word biscuit, and it means something completely different.
Yes, and American biscuit is more like a soft bread roll, often eaten with gravy or as a part of breakfast.
Exactly. So if an American says biscuits and gravy, they do not mean British biscuits with brown gravy poured on top.
That image is quite disturbing.
Yes, please don't pour gravy on your chocolate digestives.
Good advice.
In the UK, a biscuit is usually something you eat with tea.
Yes, tea and biscuits are very British.
In the US, cookies and milk are very common.
That's a nice cultural comparison. Tea and biscuits in the UK, cookies and milk in the US.
Exactly, and this shows how language and culture go together.
That's an important sentence. Language and culture go together.
Yes, words are not just words. They carry habits, food, history, and everyday life.
Beautifully said.
Thank you. Very serious for a cookie discussion.
Now let's talk about buildings, elevator and lift.
In American English, we usually say elevator.
In British English, we usually say lift.
So in the US, you might ask, where's the elevator?
In the UK, you might ask, where's the lift?
Both are easy to understand, but if you want to sound more natural in that country, use the local word.
Exactly. That phrase is useful. Use the local word.
Yes, it helps you sound natural and avoid confusion.
What about apartment and flat?
In American English, I say apartment.
In British English, we often say flat.
So I might say, I live in an apartment.
And I might say, I live in a flat.
If I say flat in the US, people will probably understand, but it sounds British.
And if I say apartment in the UK, people will understand, but flat sounds more British.
This is a good point for learners. You don't need to panic. Many words are understood in both countries.
Yes, the goal is not perfection, the goal is understanding.
Exactly. But learning the differences helps you understand films, podcasts, conversations, and travel situations.
Let's talk about holiday and vacation.
This one is important.
In British English, holiday often means time away from work or school or a trip.
In American English, we usually say vacation for a trip or time off.
So in the UK, someone might say, I'm going on holiday to Spain.
In the US, someone would usually say, I'm going on vacation to Spain.
But in American English, holiday often means a special day, like Christmas, Thanksgiving, or Independence Day.
Exactly. So if an American says the holidays, they might mean the Christmas season or important public holidays.
That can confuse learners.
Yes, I once said I'm taking a vacation next week, and my British friend said, "Oh, you're going on holiday?"
And both were correct.
Yes, we were just using different versions of English.
Let's explain a useful phrase, time off.
Time off means time when you do not work or study. For example, I'm taking some time off next week.
That works in both American and British English.
Yes, very safe phrase.
So if learners are not sure whether to say holiday or vacation, they can say time off in many situations.
Exactly. I have some time off next week.
Very useful.
Now let's talk about gas and petrol.
In American English, you say gas.
Yes, I might say I need to get gas.
In British English, we usually say petrol.
So you might say I need to get petrol.
Exactly.
This one is funny because gas in British English can mean the substance used for heating or cooking, not petrol for the car.
Yes, if someone says gas in the UK, people may still understand from context, but petrol is the British word.
And in the US, petrol sounds very British or formal.
Another useful phrase is gas station in American English.
And petrol station in British English.
Good. Let's give a mini dialogue.
Okay.
In the US, we need to stop at a gas station.
In the UK, we need to stop at a petrol station.
Perfect.
Now, trash and rubbish.
In American English, you say trash or garbage.
Yes, take out the trash is very common.
In British English, we usually say rubbish.
So you might say, take out the rubbish.
Yes, and the container is a trash can in the US.
But in the UK, it's a bin.
Exactly.
So if I say, where's the trash can in the UK, people will probably understand, but bin sounds more natural.
And if I say, where's the bin in the US, many people understand, but trash can sounds more American.
This is a good pattern. American word, British word, and both often understood.
Yes, but knowing the local word helps you sound natural.
Let's talk about restroom, bathroom, toilet, and loo.
Ah, this is important for real life.
Very important. If you are traveling, you need this vocabulary.
In American English, people often say restroom in public places.
Yes, or bathroom in general conversation.
In British English, people often say toilet or informally loo.
In the US, toilet sounds more direct because it refers to the actual object.
But in the UK, toilet is completely normal when asking where the room is.
So in the US, you might ask, where is the restroom?
In the UK, you might ask, where's the toilet or where's the loo?
Loo sounds very British.
It does, very casual and common.
I remember the first time someone in the UK asked me, where's the loo? I thought, who is Lou?
That is brilliant.
I was looking for a person named Lou.
And instead, they needed a toilet.
Exactly. Very different situation.
That is a perfect example of how small words can create funny misunderstandings.
Yes, and it shows why learners should hear real conversations, not only textbook English.
Absolutely.
Now let's talk about clothes again, sweater and jumper.
In American English, sweater means warm, knitted clothing for the top half of your body.
In British English, jumper often means the same thing.
But in American English, jumper can mean a kind of dress, usually worn over another top.
Exactly, so if a British person says, I like your jumper, an American may be confused for a second.
Another clothing word, sneakers and trainers.
In the US, we say sneakers or tennis shoes.
In the UK, we usually say trainers.
So if I say, I bought new sneakers, you might say, oh, nice trainers.
Exactly.
This is useful for shopping.
Very useful. Clothes shopping is full of American and British differences.
And possible embarrassment.
Especially with pants.
Always with pants.
Now let's talk about spelling. American and British English sometimes spell words differently.
Yes, for example, color in American English has no U.
In British English, color has U.
American, color, favorite, neighbor.
British, color, favorite, neighbor.
Another common difference, center in American English.
Center in British English.
Theater in American English.
Theater in British English.
So if learners see two spellings, they should not panic.
Yes, both are correct, depending on which version of English you are using.
That's important, depending on which version of English you are using.
If you are writing for a British school or company, use British spelling.
If you are writing for an American school or company, use American spelling.
And try not to mix them too much in one formal document.
Exactly. Consistency matters.
Consistency means using the same style all the way through.
Yes. For example, don't write color in one sentence and favorite in the next if it's a formal document.
Good advice.
Now let's talk about accents a little bit.
That's always interesting.
American English and British English can sound very different, especially with the letter R.
In many American accents, the R is pronounced clearly.
For example, car, hard, morning.
In many British accents, especially in southern England, the final R is often not pronounced strongly.
So car may sound more like caw.
Exactly. But we have to be careful because there are many American accents and many British accents.
Yes, there is not just one American accent or one British accent.
That's an important sentence. There is not just one American accent or one British accent.
The US is huge and accents can change from region to region.
Same in the UK.
That's why learners should listen to different accents, not only one perfect textbook voice.
Yes, real English has variety.
Now, let's talk about culture a little. What do British people often notice about Americans?
Maybe that Americans can sound very friendly and enthusiastic.
Yes, Americans often use positive language. We might say, awesome, great, that's amazing, I love that.
In the UK, people may be more understated.
Understated means not showing very strong emotion, right?
Exactly. A British person might say, not bad, and actually mean very good.
That confused me at first.
It confuses everyone.
In the US, if something is great, people may say it is great. In the UK, someone might say, yeah, it was quite nice.
And quite nice can mean many things depending on the tone.
The UK English is like a secret emotional code.
Sometimes, yes.
But American friendliness can confuse British people too. Sometimes Americans say, we should hang out sometime, and British people wonder, do they really mean it?
That's true. In the UK, people may be more careful with invitations.
In the US, friendly phrases can be quite casual. We should get coffee sometime, maybe a friendly idea, not always a fixed plan.
That's useful for learners. If someone says, we should hang out sometime, it may mean they are being friendly, but you still need to make a specific plan.
Exactly. You can reply, that sounds great. Are you free next week?
Perfect. That turns a friendly idea into a real plan.
Let's talk about small talk. In the US, people often use small talk with strangers.
For example, in shops?
Yes, a cashier might say, how's your day going? Or did you find everything okay?
In the UK, that can happen too, but maybe it depends on the place.
Yes, in some parts of the US, friendly small talk is very normal.
So if an American asks, how's your day going, they may not expect a long answer.
Exactly. A simple answer is fine. Good, thanks. How about you?
That's very useful. Learners sometimes think they need a big answer.
No, small talk answers are often short and friendly.
Let's practice.
Okay,
How's your day going?
pretty good, thanks. How about you?
Not bad, thanks.
Very natural. What does pretty good mean?
It means quite good. It's casual and common in American English.
And not bad is very British.
Yes, it sounds less excited, but it can still mean good.
Exactly. Let's talk about traditions. What American traditions are interesting for British people?
Thanksgiving is probably one of the biggest differences.
Yes, Thanksgiving is a major holiday in the United States. Families often gather, eat turkey, mashed potatoes, stuffing, cranberry sauce, and pumpkin pie.
And it's about gratitude, right?
Yes, in many families, it is connected with being thankful and spending time together.
In the UK, we don't celebrate Thanksgiving in the same way.
Right. So Thanksgiving is a very American cultural topic.
How could learners ask about it politely?
They could ask, what do people usually do for Thanksgiving? Or is Thanksgiving a big family holiday?
Good. Those are open and respectful questions.
Exactly. And if someone asks me, I might say, in many families, Thanksgiving is a time to gather, eat a big meal, and think about what we're grateful for.
That's a clear explanation.
Another big American tradition is the 4th of July, or Independence Day.
How do people celebrate?
Many people have barbecues, watch fireworks, spend time with family or friends, and wear red, white, and blue.
That sounds like a very social holiday.
It can be. Of course, not everyone celebrates in the same way, but fireworks and barbecues are common.
Good phrase. Not everyone celebrates in the same way.
Very important when talking about culture.
What about Halloween? It's popular in the UK too, but maybe bigger in the US?
Yes, Halloween can be a big deal in the US, especially for children. Kids wear costumes, go trick-or-treating, and collect candy.
In British English, we say sweets more often than candy.
Exactly. Another word difference.
American, candy. British, sweets.
See, even Halloween becomes a vocabulary lesson.
Everything becomes a vocabulary lesson here.
That's why we're here.
Let's talk about schools. Are school words different in American and British English?
Yes, in the US we say grades. For example, I'm in 5th grade.
In the UK, we say year. For example, I'm in year 5.
In the US, people say elementary school, middle school, and high school.
In the UK, the system is different, and people say primary school and secondary school.
Also, in the US, college usually means university-level education.
In the UK, college can mean a place students go before university, often around ages 16 to 18.
That can be confusing.
Very confusing.
So if someone says college, ask a follow-up question if you're not sure.
Good advice. You can ask, do you mean university? Or what age were you then?
Exactly. Follow-up questions save you from confusion.
Let's talk about pronunciation of dates. Americans often say dates differently.
Yes, in the US, we usually write the month first. Month, day, year.
In the UK, we usually write day, month, year.
So 07/04 can mean July 4th in the US, but it can also mean 7th April in the UK.
That can be a real problem.
Yes, especially with travel, appointments, and deadlines.
So if the date is important, write the month in words.
Exactly. Instead of 07/04, write July 4th or 7th April.
That avoids confusion.
Very practical advice.
Now let's review a useful phrase. That means something different here.
Yes, this is a great phrase when a word changes meaning between countries.
For example, be careful with the word pants. That means something different here.
Or, in the UK, chips means something different.
Another useful phrase, I didn't realize that word was different.
Perfect. For learners, it sounds natural and honest.
For example, oh, I didn't realize that word was different in American English.
Or, I didn't realize British people say flat instead of apartment.
Very useful.
Another phrase, what do you call this in British English?
Or, what do you call this in American English?
Yes, it's a simple question that can teach you a lot.
Let's practice a mini dialogue.
Okay.
What do you call these in American English?
Pants.
In British English, we usually say trousers.
Really? I didn't realize that word was different.
Yes, and in the UK, pants usually means underwear.
Oh no, that could be embarrassing.
Very embarrassing.
Good mini dialogue.
Let's do another one.
Okay.
What do you call this in the US?
An elevator.
In the UK, we usually call it a lift.
Good to know.
Simple and natural.
Let's do food.
What do Americans call these?
Chips.
In British English, we call them crisps.
And British chips are more like American fries.
Exactly. Potato vocabulary is complicated.
But delicious.
Always.
Now, if learners want to choose one version of English, what should they do?
Good question. I think they can choose the version they use most often.
Yes, if you live in the UK or work with British people, focus on British English.
If you live in the US or work with Americans, focus on American English.
But it's still useful to understand both.
Exactly. You don't need to speak both perfectly, but you should recognize common differences.
That's a great sentence. You don't need to speak both perfectly, but you should recognize common differences.
Because you may watch American films, listen to British podcasts, work with international teams, or travel.
English is global, so you will hear many versions.
And that's normal.
Yes, English is not one perfect accent. It's a tool for communication.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Before we finish, Jake, I want to ask you one last question.
Of course.
If an English learner mixes American and British words, is that a big problem?
Honestly? No, not usually. Most people will understand you from the situation.
That's reassuring.
Yes, if you say elevator in the UK, people will probably understand. If you say lift in the US, people will probably understand too.
So, learners don't need to panic.
Exactly. The goal is communication, not perfection.
I love that. The goal is communication, not perfection.
But some words are worth remembering because they can cause funny misunderstandings.
Like pants?
Always pants.
So, in the UK, if you want to talk about clothes on your legs, it's safer to say trousers.
And in the US, pants is completely normal.
In the UK, chips are hot potato pieces.
And in the US, chips are crunchy snacks in a bag.
In the UK, we say crisps for those crunchy snacks.
And in the US, we say fries for hot, thin potatoes.
In Britain, you might live in a flat.
In America, you probably live in an apartment.
I might go on holiday.
I might go on vacation.
I might ask for the lift.
I might ask for the elevator.
I might put rubbish in the bin.
And I might put trash in the trash can.
See, it sounds like a game.
It really does. Same language, different everyday words.
And that is what makes English interesting.
Exactly. English is not just one accent, one country, or one perfect version.
English has many versions.
American English, British English, Canadian English, Australian English, Indian English, and many more.
So if you hear a word you don't know, don't feel embarrassed.
Ask a simple question.
For example, what do you call this here?
Or, is that the American word or the British word?
Another useful phrase is, I didn't realize that word was different.
That sounds natural, friendly, and honest.
And if you make a funny mistake,
Laugh, learn it, and remember it forever.
that is probably the best way to learn.
Definitely. Funny mistakes are often the words we never forget.
Now, we have a question for you.
Do you usually learn American English or British English?
And which word surprised you most today?
Was it pants, chips, biscuit, holiday, gas, restroom, or something else?
Write one sentence in the comments.
For example, I didn't know that pants means underwear in the UK. Or, I usually learn American English, but I want to understand British English too.
And tell us if you've ever had a funny English misunderstanding. Thank you for listening to Smart English Studio.
Learn smarter, speak better.
See you in the next lesson.